Hello, my viewers. This is your host, 5 Minutes or Less Review, and today we're gonna do a little bit of a segment here. I'm not gonna be obeying the law of the 5 minute challenge, um, but I'm going to speak on something that I just discovered about 24 minutes ago. Um, Basically, it has to do with Bill Cosby. Now, love him, hate him, whatever it is, I can actually acknowledge that this man actually provided a lot for us, especially when we were growing up. This was the father of almost everybody. Many a times his show provided a lot of nuggets of wisdom, and many of the things that he provided actually helped me as I was growing older. It was kind of tough when I found out that he was being accused for a lot of sexual allegation, especially with drugging young women growing up. And I knew about the Quaaludes because many of the times, many of these ladies they were on these Quaaludes, and many of the times they come up to you and say, "Yo, you got a piece?" You know. So it's no different from today's world nowadays, where a lot of women nowadays are always saying, "Oh, you got weed on you, or you got this, or you got that," and to me, those kind of things turn me off. But what I would say is this: that Bill Cosby has done his time, in my personal opinion, and he needs to move on. Now, here's the situation. For what he's accused of, I will not, under any circumstance, stand for it. I think it's one of the most horrible crimes that any individual could ever commit to another. To sexually assault somebody else that doesn't want it. And let me be frank with you. I don't see how that kind of behavior is even enjoyable when you're forcing yourself onto somebody else. There's no fun to it when the other person is not cooperating. You can't even do some of the positions that you want to do. Nothing is there. You know. But then again, we're looking at it in a situation whereby the governor of New York just signed in a new law, which is called the Adult Survivors Act. Basically, this is an attempt to help people who've been in positions where they've been sexually assaulted, especially if they've been over the age of 18. Basically, they give you a 1 year of discovery or something of that nature in order to look into these cases, and it doesn't matter at what time, where, or whatever the situation is, as long as the person indicates that, hey, you have assaulted them, even 30 years from right now as we're speaking, they're gonna have that 1 year of looking into your into that case. The thing about it is that for me personally, I like laws. I believe that laws are there to really protect the weak. But the thing about it that I've discovered a lot of the time is that the laws that people keep on signing end up being used by caricatures and people who are of no good. They always look at these things as a loophole to something else, and they will always take advantage of it. Now, as a man, I can see some of the pitfalls associated with this thing, and I know that a lot of people today might be celebrating, but it becomes a problem after a while. Now, without saying much, let's just go ahead and watch the video, and you guys can go ahead, and then we'll go ahead and comment on the situation. Okay? All right. All right. So you guys heard it. You guys seen it. You guys see what's going on with Cosby. I think Cosby, in many ways, is suffering the same problem that. Hey, stop it. The same problem that Michael Jackson suffered, and that is fame. People will always come after you. It's easier for them to come after you. especially with the situation, all these allegations, they will always push anything they can and keep you in court. And the thing I want you guys to always understand is that Cosby has Cosby money. That means that he sometimes he will rather just settle, and many of the times these women are just going after those settlements. You know, they're not going after winning in court or showing, hey, you're guilty of this. No, it's mostly about that settlement. You know, when I look at all this situation, guys, I just want to say something very quickly. You know, it's very easy, very easy for us to go down this slippery slope, which is basically for anybody at any time to come up with an accusation that you had no part in it. You're trying to climb a certain ladder. You're trying to achieve something for yourself, and then somebody that comes out of nowhere and now starts labeling accusation on you. Now, to many people out here, they're gonna simply say, "Well, if it's not directed at you, why should you bother?" The truth of the matter is this: sooner or later, it might come to your own doorstep. You know, sooner or later, it might come to your own doorstep, and that is why I'm simply saying that it is best for us to limit how these kind of laws take place. What are the limits? What are the parameters for it to be initialized and then move forward? You know, without those kind of limits, nobody is protected. You know, I've always said it. Men are the least protected group of people in this country, and still they keep adding stupid laws that put men under direct attack, to the point that it's hard for you to even associate with a lot of women nowadays. You know, because of nonsense like this. You don't know what could constitute as harassment. You don't know what could constitute as sexual harassment. When sometimes they leave the law so vague. You know? So I want to call a lot of guys out here to simply say, you know what? You guys need to start looking at some of these laws, because these things are no longer appropriate anymore. I don't care what the situation is. Not because a lot of women cannot be accused of this thing doesn't mean we shouldn't look out for our own selves also. You know? We're putting ourselves in the direct fire here. We need to stop it. We need to form ways of protecting our women, but it's not by this, whereby it's easy for the women now, you know, who are claiming that they are oppressed, to easily target us and destroy us. Remember, as a man, you have no shelter. So many of the times in your young age, you're trying your best to build for yourself. You know, if all of this is taken away from you, you have nowhere to go. There is no help from the federal government or from the states to help you as a man. There's basically no help. But as a woman, they have help. You know, they have help. Now, in my personal opinion, our ladies need to be protected by men. And that means men need to be put in a situation whereby they simply say, you know what, we're going to protect our women. If we see something, we stand up and we say, hey, that behavior isn't right. Right? I think men need to start standing up and saying enough is enough. But at the same time, we need to give men an incentive to do so. Okay? That means that means to some degree they are protected. You know, in order for them to be able to do some of these things. But where every situation can easily be turned against a man. Most men don't want to even put themselves in the middle of nonsense. You know? So, guys, I'm just simply saying, with this law, it's a very big problem. I know many of you guys are simply saying, it's not on my doorstep, but you have to understand that sooner or later, the people who are very deviant will use this law against us sooner or later. So that's just my 10 cents regarding this issue. I think this issue there's a high degree that it might be settled in court. It might be settled out of court where these women actually get a payday. But other than that, I think it's just an investigation, and then sooner or later maybe it will go away. But for them to send him to prison again, in my personal opinion, I look at it as a double jeopardy or something like that, whereby he's going to prison for the same crimes he's going to prison for. It's not cool. Alright guys, it's been my own take on this issue with Bill Cosby. Hopefully this issue gets a little bit moved to the side, and then this law gets, you know, taken down a peg or two, whereby they write a little bit of constraint so that it to some degree protects men, you know. All right, guys, this is your host, 5 minutes.